August 23rd. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is... You know what? Fuck it. I just don't even care.
Let's do this.
So yeah, despite the fact that both Scott and myself had plans to not be around last night, we ended up both being around, and we were so lazy that not only did we not do the show, but we didn't even do the Rim and Emily special.
We didn't do jack or shit last night. I played some of that System Shock game.
You know what I did?
And I played some Paper Mario.
I washed my pants, and then I proceeded to play Natural Selection until way too late.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I was booted into Windows.
This is the problem in video game season is that video games that don't take a long time to play are generally DS games, so I play them on the train. So when it's video game season, I play video games at home. If I actually play them, not much else goes on. I'll be sitting there for like an hour or two at each game.
Yeah,
and
I remember...
podcasting takes a backseat.
No, it doesn't really take a backseat.
No, it doesn't, but you know what I'm saying.
Though I was playing Natural Selection pretty much from the moment I came home from work until Scott came into my room and said, hey, are we going to do the show?
And then we didn't do the show.
For like another half hour.
At all. Yesterday.
Oh, yes, I'm talking about today.
Oh, yeah, today. Yeah. All right. Well, actually, today I got home and I started playing Paper Mario. And I stopped eventually when I said, hey, I should do the show.
Yeah, my video game queue is really backed up right now. Even worse is we have a Netflix movie that I really want to watch, but Scott doesn't seem to care about. Mutiny on the Bounty, the original. And I'm all excited about it, but I just don't have time to watch it. It's like 2 hours long.
Just watch on the train.
I don't have a laptop. I guess I could borrow Emily's, but...
You should get one of those at least portable DVD dealies.
The only reason I haven't bought one of those portable DVD dealies is that I'm currently reading books on the train, and
I know, actually, just today I was reading a book on the train.
And the worst thing is, I don't have enough time to even read. I have an hour on the train, and I get to work, and I think, crap, I want to keep reading.
I have a weird relationship. I love to read books, the kind that are only words.
Read a book,
I get a box full of books with pictures every month. So, and for some reason, I read those really quick, as fast as I can.
Scott, you should... Not a sports page, not a magazine.
It's not a sports page or a magazine.
Not a One Piece, not no Naruto, but a book.
Anyway, so I don't actually, start reading novels often. But whenever I start reading one, I can't stop reading it, and I read it stupidly fast.
Yeah, that was the problem. I mean, I did a Geek Bite about it not too long ago, but Alex got me hooked on these Prince of Nothing books. And I read all of them, pretty much as fast as he could give them to me. And now I'm reading Plutarch's histories, and they're super awesome.
All right.
I feel a little more erudite, though, because Scott's reading comic books, and I'm reading ancient historians' works on even more ancient personalities in Rome.
Yeah, but the comic books I read are literary. I don't read those underwear perfect comic books.
So what comic book are you reading right now?
I'm not reading any comic books right now.
Ah, so what's the last comic book you read?
I read Will Eisner, Edge of Genius.
All right, I can't make fun of you for that.
Okay.
Right, so I got a news tonight, and it's not really a new news. In fact, this is news that was news 10 years ago. But I've realized in reading what people say about this issue on the internet that most people out there have absolutely no idea what this issue actually is.
Well, I have an inside scoop on this, is that on the most recent episode of Twit last week...
An inside scoop, I'm curious.
I know, is that a guy was talking about it. Hence, if you go to sites like Slash.and-Dig, where there are many Twit listeners, the conversation is carrying on from that.
Man, I haven't listened to Twit in like 3 months, ever since I stopped. I gotta get some earbuds, so when I'm playing Pokemon, I can also listen to podcasts.
I know, I just actually sent my earbuds in for RMA because the wire to the right ear got loose. So it's like I had to keep jiggling it. So I sent them in, and if, at the very worst, I could get a replacement pair for like half price, so why not? But now I need to go and buy some shit $5 earbuds to hold me over until they come back.
Thing is, I just never drive anywhere anymore. And also, actually, of all awesomes, this morning I get to work, and I got to drive to this hospital, and I get in my car, and I'm driving a couple coworkers over there, and I hit the ignition, and nothing happens. Not like dig it, but just nothing.
Uh-huh.
So I poke around.
Didn't your car have that exploding ignition problem that you didn't?
It did. So I'm thinking, is the car now on fire? What's going on? So I go out and I turn the lights on, and the battery's fine as far as I can tell. And I don't have time to deal with this, so I just get a cab to the hospital, and we deal with our work. And I get back and I'm going to take the train home, and I figure, all right, damn it. I'm going to see what's wrong with my car. There's a mechanic, like, a block away, so I was just going to push my car over there.
Yeah, pushing the car.
And the car starts fine.
Ah,
No problem.
weather. I bet it was like
The
weather.
car, for the last years, actually, for as long as I've owned it, has had trouble with rain. When it's wet out, the car just doesn't like to do things. Thing is, it's a beater. I'm driving it into the ground. I figure probably winter time-ish, I'm going to buy a new car. Maybe I want to hold out until next summer. I'm really looking at a used Miata.
Get whatever you want.
I want a little zoomy car.
Yeah, everyone does.
Yeah. Thing is, I
Actually,
can afford it.
they're coming out with new DeLoreans that are only going to be like $59,000.
Yeah, $59,000. That's what I'm going to spend on the car because I'm so flush with cash and my diamond shoes are too tight.
DeLorean? It's not so much.
59. All right.
Ferrari's also coming out with a car that's only like 130.
I spent 10 grand on my current car, and you know what? It's been worth well more than 10 grand worth of driving. I'm not spending more than 30 grand on a car unless I'm rich, and I'm not rich yet.
They're coming out with like a half-price Ferrari. How can you turn that
half
down?
price.
Yeah,
It's like, 80% off this house in the Florida Keys.
yeah.
All right, anyway.
I don't see what your problem is.
Wow, I guess my news turned into another leader bit.
Okay, anyway.
All right, so the issue at stake that Twit talked about that sent us on this tangent is the, quote, loudness war, unquote, in music. And the heart of the issue is dynamic range compression. Now, I got to stop you all right here because most idiots on the internet, when they hear compression, think, oh, you mean like turning it into an MP3 or an OGG or whatever. And that has absolutely nothing to do with this at all.
It's a different kind of compression. This is more like the compression where I squish your head than the compression where I take away your bits.
Now, the deal is that, one, different mediums, especially back before digital distribution, had different limitations as to how loud music could be and what dynamic range you could have. And a lot of people like to say, yes, and vinyl records, because they're analog, have perfect dynamic range, and that's a load of horseshit.
It
Don't
is
even get me
indeed
started
the
about
horseshit. The dynamic range of a vinyl record is the depth of the little pits in the vinyl.
And not only that, but records had all sorts of special problems. Like, if you tried to put too much bass in there, you could knock the needle out of the track. And you couldn't put high-pitched things in so well.
Well, that's why they have those lasers that read your vinyl records now instead of needles.
Yeah, but even then, that's...
But then it's a CD.
Well, no, it's better and worse than a CD. The thing... there's too many issues for me to talk about.
I know, isn't it?
All right, I'm going to sum all of these issues up. 1, records only sound better to people who like warm audio sound. And by warm audio, I mean different kinds of distortion and different kinds of audio. It's not higher fidelity. The distortion just sounds better to some people. Mostly people who grew up listening to records.
Gasp.
CDs sound harsh to them because the CDs, in many ways, more accurately reproduce the audio, and as a result, you don't get that nice distortion they had and they liked. But anyway, this issue specifically is that, and it's something that talk radio and we at Geeknights do actually more so than most radio stations do. We compress the audio dynamically, whereby the louder our audio gets above a threshold, the more it is compressed, the less loud it can get. So up to 4 decibels, let's say, nothing happens. But for every decibel above 4 decibels that our audio is going to sound to you, we have to get, say, 3 decibels louder. So it decreases the dynamic range of the audio. And as a result, if I start yelling, or if Scott and I talk at the same time, or if I lean back from the microphone, or anything weird happens, or I talk quieter, it all gets kind of smoothed out. And as a result, the talking you hear tends to be very uniform. It doesn't get super loud and super quiet like pretty much every other goddamn podcast and radio show out there.
The advantage of this is that if you're in your car or in the end, you can hear us. If you're listening on your iPod, you can hear us. You can hear every word we're saying, no matter what we do and no matter what you do. And that is good for a talk show.
If you want to hear audio that doesn't do this, I don't want to make fun of them because I love their podcast, but listen to like any of the first 30 or 40 episodes of Dave and Joel's Fast Karate for the Gentlemen. That is what uncompressed and unprocessed audio sounds like, folks. You don't want that.
It's very difficult to hear sometimes because it'll be so quiet. And sometimes it's so loud it hurts your ears, you know? You ever listen to a podcast and the music suddenly comes in really loud, a lot louder than the talking?
Kind of like how early Geeknights was.
And then the talking comes in and it's too quiet and you can't hear it. And you have to keep adjusting your volume knob so that you can hear what's going on in the podcast. We have a thing over here, a little machine that does that.
And then furthermore, I apply many additional dynamic filters on the audio after the fact in post-production. But anyway, they do the same thing in music. And the net effect of compression is that the average volume of a song is increased. Because say you can only hold, 10 decibels of audio in, say, a CD. I'm totally making up numbers just so you can understand this. So a CD or a tape can hold 10 total decibels, meaning the most difference between the loudest part of the audio and silence is 10 decibels. So say I record some audio and I got a drummer on a snare drum just banging that snare drum every now and then. So pock, pock, pock. And then I got a guy kind of mumble rapping, you know. All right,
that's enough.
So, all right. So the snare drum is like 9 decibels, and the chaperone guy is like 2 decibels. As a result, when I do the final post-production without doing any compression, the snare drum is 10 decibels, and the dude talking is like 3 or 4 decibels.
And you can't hear shit what the guy's saying, and the drum hurts your ears.
Yeah. So the only way around that is to use dynamic range compression. So as a result, the snare drum is still loud, and it sounds loud, but you compress the audio, and as a result, the chaperone guy's at like 7 decibels, and the snare drum's at like 8 decibels. And you do some other stuff to it, and you really can't tell the difference in most situations.
Yeah, I mean, I like to, play both. A lot of people, they're like, oh, I don't like the sound of that. I like the sound of that. Get these people in some double-blind tests or in some real-world situations where, they'd be having to fiddle with the volume knob constantly. And let's see which one they pick when they don't know what's what.
Now, the real issue at stake, because I keep saying that, the real issue at stake here, the root of the issue.
It's the real deal right here.
I guess there's a lot of roots. Here's the bottom line, with no more techno, no more techno mumbo jumbo. I got a thesaurus
Is it red
here.
or black?
What do you want? The crux, if I may, of the issue is that as a result of people doing this, you can make audio sound louder. Generally, pop music and music that people listen to in the world, particularly in the United States and Europe, has been dynamically compressed to the point that there is no more dynamic range. They try to make the sound more and more apparently louder. And some subgenres of music take this one step further and try to make the bass sound super loud and all that sort of thing. And a lot of music purists seem to be of the mind that without dynamic range, music is somehow bad. And while I will say that dynamic range can be put to great effect and wonderfulness in music, if you're listening to music in the way that 90% of Americans or people in the world listen to music.
Recorded music.
Yeah, so you're not listening to it in a soundstage. You're not listening to it on your $200, not, $10,000 audiophile bullshit headphones, but like $200 absolute real monitor headphones. You don't sit there in the listening room with a blindfold on listening to music and listening to the subtle differences between the quiet part of the symphony and the loud part of the symphony. You're listening on the train, you're listening in the car, you're listening with a bunch of people at a party. And if you've ever tried to listen to classical music in a car, it totally sucks because you just have to turn it up whenever it's quiet and turn it down whenever it's loud.
Or else you can't hear over the noise of your engine in your car, even if your car is an electric car.
So, I guess, while dynamic range can be used to great effect in music, this whole loudness war is kind of BS because that is what people want. And a lot of people and a lot of music players will do this after the fact so that you can listen to music that isn't dynamically controlled.
This is why people write programs like MP3 gain and normalize so that you don't have to keep fiddling with your volume knob constantly to be able to hear all your music. It just makes all your music the same volume level. So, and then automatically changes the volume based on the song that happens to come up in your playlist so that you can hear it.
So the issue is just a lot more complex than the people who are so loud about this want to make it out to
Most
be.
of the people who are loud about it are crazy audiophiles who believe in bullshit anyway.
I think we need to get some sort of dynamic internet compression for those guys.
Oh.
I don't know, the crazier you are, the less digs you get.
Ah.
Too bad it's the exact opposite. We have some sort of crazy expander on Dick right now, but I'm done with the audio analogies.
Okay. Today, I couldn't find any news. I'm going to do a Geek Back. Bringing back the Geek Back.
Oh, the Geek Back. We had a Geek Bite a little while ago. Now a Geek Back?
Yep. So, the Thaid guy, Thaed, whatever he wants people to say his name, I don't know. He basically sent me an email, and he said...
Wait, basically? Like he could have done something else?
He could have.
He could have
It's a very short email. It could have been an instant message.
Oh.
But it says, so have you guys ever thought about creating a podcasting channel or network? If anyone could do it, you could. And I'm like, okay. That's all he said. I gave him a big old response, but I
saw the response.
I think this bears talking about on the show.
Let's start with podcast channel and then move into podcast network.
Well, I think the difference between a podcast channel and a podcast network is sort of hard to define because people... I don't know.
Well, I think it's pretty easy. A podcast channel is either, some sort of cross syndication with feeds, so you can subscribe to one feed that's just got all the different stuff that different people do. Like if there's the...
Yeah, if you're going to make it a direct-to-television analogy, then yes, that would be a channel where you'd program some sort of podcast. You take a feed, and we would choose podcasts to go into the feed, thus creating a larger feed of programming, which is what a TV channel is.
And I think the only other thing a podcast channel could be is just some sort of live streaming. I said a bunch of words that weren't the word.
Yeah, you did.
But some sort of live streaming thing, which, as we talked about recently, is really dumb.
I don't think that's what he's talking. Or a podcast network, which, depending on what you think about podcast network, there are a lot of existing podcast networks.
Like
for example,
the Twit network.
Well, Twit's sort of different than the others, but like the Sci-Fi Podcast Network or the Comic Podcast Network or one of those, right?
Then there's those loose affiliations, or they might be tied to behind the scenes.
That's what these are, is that basically a bunch of people who already have their separate podcasts, right? They're completely they're not unrelated podcasts, but they're podcasts on the same thing.
Like Pseudopod and Escape Pod.
Well, no. Like, look at the Comics Podcast Network, right?
Okay.
Every podcast in the Comics Podcast Network is made by someone different, somewhere else in the world. They don't, work together, really. There's no, they're friends, I guess, on the internet, but they're not, friends in real life, or at least they weren't friends in real life before. They don't produce their shows together. They just have an affiliation under a common label, and... the fact is that some of the individual podcasts under that label are actually bigger than the label itself. And I really don't see the point of grouping a bunch of podcasts under a label like this.
The only reason you would ever do that is if in your group of friends or just group of podcasters or whatever that may or may not have been formed directly by you, one is really popular and the rest aren't, and you want to make the rest popular and have them tag along on your coattails.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a dumb idea because the way to get more listeners for your podcast is to be like Nintendo and get people who aren't listening to podcasts.
The blue ocean.
People who are already listening to podcasts, if they're going to find you, they'll find you. Don't worry about it.
In fact,
they
actually,
know how it works.
This is kind of a big indictment against a lot of our podcast friends because I'll be very blunt. Most of the friend podcasters we have are very incestuous in terms of podcasting, and they all cross-promote each other, and they all play, like when we went to Otakon, right? We did a podcasting panel that a bunch of people recorded. Every one of the podcasters we know put the exact same audio from the same panel up in their show.
Except us.
Obviously. We actually gave, the Ninja Consultants probably have the best recording of that thing, because we gave them our recording that we didn't actually use for anything.
Yeah.
From the Fancy Pants Marines.
But, they're all promoting each other and stuff, and it's sort of like podcasters associate with each other for no other reason than other to share listeners, and I don't know how many listeners actually get shared because of these networks, but I imagine it's not making a significant difference.
Well,
except for the really small podcast that attaches onto the really big one gets a good head start, but that's about it.
In the end, all it does is eventually I see a lot of listeners seem to consolidate, like they'll start listening to a bunch of shows because of, cross-promotion, but then they end up only listening to one or two of the original ones that cross-promoted and just stop listening to the rest.
Yeah. I think in the end, the only kind of podcast network that's good is one like Twit, because Twit is different in that Twit is a lot more like Geeknights, in which we have 4 different podcasts we do effectively, and Twit has 10.
Yeah.
They got there's the headline show Twit, but then there's the free open source one and the law one but they're all Twit shows made by Twit. Leo Laporte has something to do with all of them. They're all made by Twit. It's not like all these people making separate shows and slapping a Twit label on them. They're actually all produced by the same crew, basically.
Now, if there was anything like that we would do, that is it.
Yeah, and I mean, we're doing that already as far as I'm concerned.
The only thing we're not
Geeknights
doing
is 4 podcasts, and Twit is a lot more than 4.
The only reason we don't do more is just a lack of time because we both have day jobs.
Imagine if I didn't have a job. I could just make like 2 podcasts every day.
And I could see in the future, especially like if we had as many listeners as Twit, I can guarantee there'd be a lot more Geek Nights out there.
There sure would be.
I mean, if my job were to do this 8 hours a day, I'd probably do it 12 hours a day.
I don't know if I do it 12 hours a
Well,
day.
by doing, I mean, not just talking for 12 hours a day, but 12 hours worth of stuff. Because remember, playing video games counts as working on Geek Nights.
Awesome.
So does playing D&D, playing board games, watching anime.
Yeah. I guess the point is that I think that podcast networks as they stand today, most of them are pretty stupid and pointless, and I think they're kind of lame, and I don't really want to have anything to do with any of them.
Notice that we stopped playing promos pretty much right away.
Yeah, we played promos because other people were doing it, and then we realized, why are we doing this just because other people are doing it? It's stupid.
Yep. Well, it doesn't help that all promos are bad, including ours.
If you're going to make some sort of label to apply to multiple separate podcasts, that label should have some meaning other than we all talk about similar things or we all like each other.
Yep. I mean, in
It
the
should
long
have
run,
meaning like these shows are all produced in the same studio.
like we have the Geek Nights experimental feed, which in the winter or early fall is going to start seeing a lot more use.
It should see some use pretty soon, I think.
It will, but it's going to see a lot more use.
It's mostly our Libsyn limitation. It's not seeing more use.
Yeah, that and we have actually been really busy lately.
Yep.
But I could see us expanding with a couple more hosts and more shows and that sort of thing. And I could see the front row crew as a whole busting out, but I don't see many of our front row crew friends actually podcasting.
No,
At least not unless they podcast through us.
Yeah. Oh well, podcast networks.
Kinda lame.
Very lame.
So, things of the day. Whatever screwing around we seem to be doing with Geek Bites and Geek Backs and Newses, I think the things of the day are going to stay. Everyone seems to like them.
Yeah, can't get rid of the thing of the day. I mean,
I'm going to be quick about this because all I hate to do, everything I do is on Dig. And if it's not on Dig, it's on Dig by the time I do the show. So I stopped caring. This is a little old, but a little old meaning a couple days ago. It's a comedy sketch. It's either Australian or British. And it's about the front falling off, and I don't want to say anymore. Just watch it. It's really Monty Python-esque, and really, it's just...
yeah, it's not Monty Python, but it is very much like Monty Python.
The thing is, it's that whole kind of very witty, very dry style of British humor. It had a little bit of the Pellew. Well, the front fell off. Yes, come on.
Yep.
Anyway, that's all I got to say
I thought
about
it was
that.
funny. Here's another funny thing I found here. Basically, you ever seen the Street Fighter live-action movie in the U.S.?
Actually, no, though my mom did.
Oh, I saw it, and it's
Actually,
bad.
my mom really liked the Mortal Kombat movie.
Mortal Kombat movie's a lot better than the Street Fighter movie. Let me
But
tell
she
you.
kept trying to hide it. She'd always be like, "Yeah, I just like it for the special effects." But she totally just dug that movie.
It wasn't as that bad. It was bad, but not as bad as the Street Fighter movie. Anyway, Korea at one point, South Korea, I assume, tried to make a Street Fighter movie as well. A Street Fighter 2 movie, actually. That was live action.
All right, is this better or worse than all those Filipino Spider-Man movies?
I don't know. Why don't you watch this 8 minutes of live action footage and decide for yourself? The best part of this is just watching all the character introductions at the beginning. Zangief, priceless.
Priceless,
Let me tell
you say?
It's a priceless Zangief.
Because I know what Zangief looks like. And, I mean, I know exactly
Imagine
what Zangief
a Korean
looks like.
guy dressing up as Zangief.
I can't imagine that. That's impossible.
Well, I'm going to show it to you after the show's over.
There is no way a person of Korean descent, full-blooded Korean descent, could look anything like Zangief.
Well, we'll watch this when the show's over, and everyone else listening will watch it also and be entertained.
I mean, the College Humor has a perfect Zangief.
Oh.
It's not that hard to find a guy who looks like
that
Zangief.
Street Fighter, the later years on College Humor, is like the hot shit. I hope they finish making that.
As far as I'm concerned, that is the live-action Street Fighter movie.
Oh, of course, definitely. But this is this is interesting in the same way that Japanese Spider-Man.
Oh, who put my claws in the sink? You know you can't do that. Gonna Ross. Right. So, if you haven't noticed, Scott and I are a little bit jaded about a lot of things.
And
Scott,
not jaded like Jade Monkey, but jaded like...
you know, that doesn't work because something can't be jaded in the same way that it's bronze. You can't coat something in jade very easily.
No, but yeah.
But what?
I don't know. I was just trying to make fun of the material jade. And,
I know. I really like
yeah.
jade, though. Because
It's all right.
it protects you from the what's-it in
It doesn't protect you from
L5R.
shit. It doesn't protect you from
No,
shit.
in L5R, if you're out into those accursed lands where the Oni and everything are, you best have some jade on you.
I guess Jade and L5R is sort of like Cold Iron with our demons in our game there.
Granted, Captain... Oh, so that's the kaiju wall, eh? Well, I go outside and roll around in the dirt. Does anything happen?
The setting was not thoroughly explained enough to me, so
What
rather
setting?
than...
All right, wall. Accursed land beyond the wall. Don't go out there. Okay, I go and roll around in the dirt.
Well, because I was like exactly how, where it's like I look over the edge of the wall. Is it accursed down there? I'm like, how far away is the accursedness?
You're like, how accursed is it? On a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, I was
How
trying
much
to get...
curse is going to get on me?
I was trying to get a complete picture of what evil would lurk beyond the wall, and it wasn't offered to me out of character, so I had to go in character and find out.
What if I eat the dirt? Is the dirt cursed? What if I only eat like a handful of dirt? Would I just lick a rock or something?
Yeah.
What's that going to do?
That's what I did.
Anyway.
Grandpa Ninja for the win.
I do want to preface this by saying that however jaded I may be, Scott is entirely immune to the accursed effects beyond the kaiju wall. Scott is made of jade. Scott, I can say that 80% of the time, with no exaggeration, if I say anything to Scott, his response will range from nothing to,
It's pretty good as far as I go.
And I'm talking things like, oh my God, Scott, Russia just invaded Britain and they nuked France. And Scott would be like, it doesn't affect me yet.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I mean, I know I wasn't always this way. And I know I am this way.
But yet you get super excited about the stupidest little things.
Like what?
Like, I remember back when we were watching Azumanga and you'd sit there like, oh, Scott, oh, Scott, oh, Scott, oh my God.
That was a while ago.
It wasn't that long ago.
I was less jaded then. That was years ago.
That was like 4 years ago. Not even.
Long time, 4 years.
You sat and watched that screensaver that was nothing more than an Osaka
That was
emulator.
like 4 years ago.
That wasn't that long ago.
It was long ago, but I think it's mostly in the past 2 years-ish that I've been super jaded, where I just go on the stupid RSS feeds and I see so much shit every day, constantly, that it takes so much to make me get any sort of reaction. I mean, it's like if I sit there watching Goatsy for a whole day, what are you going to show me that's going to make me go, nothing?
Yeah, see, there's a secondary issue that actually Jess and a few other people brought up when we were talking about this exact same thing when everyone in the crew except Scott went mountain climbing.
Yep.
Well, rock climbing. It wasn't actually a mountain. It was a hill. I'm not going to pretend that Breakneck Ridge is a mountain, but nonetheless, we were rock climbing, and we were talking about how jaded Scott is, and an issue came up, but I'll get to that at the end. Let's focus just on the internet right now. Because people send us things of the day all the time. It seems like ever since we started saying who sent us a thing of the day, we get so many emails of, oh my God, check this out. Oh my God, check this out.
And I'd say about 75% of them are things I've already seen. 15% of the rest are things that are just meh. And then the remainder, some people actually do send us things we haven't seen that are awesome.
What it really comes down to on the internet, as opposed to maybe other issues, is just that we've seen a lot on the internet. And I've already seen a video of a guy putting on a banana suit and then letting it on fire. And then saying that was a bad idea in front of the camera after the fact, after he was horribly burned.
So when I watched the video of an idiot, lighting a train track on fire, then lighting his jeans on fire with gasoline from the train track.
Or to just break that up, any video of someone doing something really stupid. I've already seen a video of someone doing the stupidest thing. They're all just really the same thing, and I'm not...
Yeah, it's like you watch this owned compilation. It's like 100 owned videos just tied together. How are you possibly going to show me another owned video?
I already saw a guy parasail into a cliff. I've seen that. There's nothing worse that I could see in All right, if a shark jumped out of the water and grabbed a guy in the air who was parasailing, that would make me go... I would take pause at that for a second.
Maybe, but then, once you've seen that...
Well, the shark jumped the guy. It's over.
But, I mean, once you've seen that video, though, what's next? I mean, the
Now, not
guy
just-
diving into the water and coming out with the shark.
Now, I don't just want not just own videos. That was just the example that came to mind. But anything like Flash animations. I have seen some of the most amazing animations online and in film festivals and everything. And 99% of the stuff on the internet is crap, Flash, whatever, that I've seen a million things better. So why even bother
Look,
with this?
even things that aren't on the internet, anime. Back in the day, there wasn't so much anime. It was hard to get. I didn't see a lot of it.
Well, not only
so
that,
even a
we
bad
hadn't seen
anime
enough.
was awesome because it's like, oh my god, an anime, holy shit! And it didn't matter to me what it was. It was an anime. That's all that mattered.
Yeah,
Now,
I mean,
I've seen
watched
so much anime that it's like, wow, it's crap, that's crap, that's crap. Because I've seen the best of the best of the best. So if you don't show me something that's on that level, I mean, you might show me something that's pretty damn good, like A. But I've seen 30 A+ anime. So compared to those,
the
your
B
A-
anime have no chance.
your B anime has no chance, and your A anime is only going to get watched if I'm really bored. And I have this mountain of A+ stuff to look at. The A stuff just isn't going to happen, people. I'm too busy with my life. I got to go to work. I got to eat. I got to do laundry. I got to make a podcast.
It's like when I was a kid, I watched Tenchi Muyo, and I loved that show. That show was just so funny and so clever.
I
and
didn't
so,
like it even then, but
and so original, and I thought it was great. And it was hilarious. And I love the characters. And I love the movies. And hey, the original OAV has a lot of charm.
that's
got-
what you want to call it.
Have you seen the OAV? What Tenchi have you seen?
The Cartoon Network, random, whatever.
Random whatever what? Because there's the original OAV and there's the infinite
I think I
number.
saw some episode where there was swimsuits. It was an obligatory swimsuit
That doesn't
episode.
narrow it down. But suffice to say,
Yeah.
I've seen like 100 anime since then that are the same kind of harem show, whatever. But not only are they all just, oh, I've seen a harem show, I don't need to see another one. And not only did none of them bring even one original thing to the table, but they all were not as good as Tenchi. Like, just not. It's not just, oh, it's just the same thing over again. It was the same thing done
Well, is
worse.
that perhaps nostalgia added
No,
to your like of
no.
Tenchi?
Good God. Have you watched Love Hina? That show
I
doesn't-
watched all of Love Hina,
That show?
scarily enough, because back in the day, before it was Jaded,
You were stupid.
I downloaded all of Love Hina because we watched episodes of it at Anime Club, where every anime appears better than it is, and everyone was laughing their heads off after 4 episodes. So I downloaded the rest, went home over the summer. There was no RIT internet connection. There was just a 56K modem. And I watched all of Love Hina because nothing else to do that
See,
summer.
I can't make fun of you because, well, granted, Love Hina, by the 3rd episode, I realized, wait a minute, they haven't, it was like a Garfield comic. They haven't made a new joke in several episodes.
Pretty much, but did you watched all of Sailor Moon, so you can't talk.
Oh, no, I wasn't even going to make fun of that. When I was living in the mountains with no internet and no cell phone and nothing to do, and I'd read every book I owned and I was buying I had nothing to do and I was bored. Super bored. Like, I'd come home from work and I'd run for a couple hours and then I'd, like, make dinner and then I still had 4 more hours to kill. I watched all of Read or Die TV and I watched, like, 12 episodes of Monster. And
Well, Monster's good, though.
it was okay. The manga is so much better that the anime, I just can't stand it.
How much of the manga have you read?
Like 1 issue.
I got 2 volumes.
I didn't like the anime. The pacing was really bad, in my opinion.
All right.
I
I haven't
really-
watched enough of the anime to say.
I liked the first 4 or 5, and then it just really started going downhill. But Read or Die TV was crap. And then I watched about 17 episodes of Brother Dear Brother. And then finally I realized, all right, this is crap. I watched the last 2, and it was worth it.
But here's an example of how I am jaded, if you still can't understand, right? I think, look at movies, right? I haven't been to the movie theater in forever. No, we went once, but
We went to
still-
see Paprika recently.
Oh, yeah, that's different. But before Paprika, before I went to see that, I was not excited about a single movie since Lord of the Rings, all 3 of them, right? And every time people would start yapping about, oh, let's go see this movie. Oh, even today, people say, oh, this movie's great. You got to go see it. Oh, this movie, right? First of all, I got Netflix, all right? So I don't got time for your movie theater. And second of all, I think back and I think of Lord of the Rings and Paprika, and I'm like, huh? Is this movie Lord of the Rings level? No.
But Scott, as a result,
Whatever.
you missed some pretty damn good movies, like
But they're not A+. They're not,
Shaun of the Dead.
well, that's just, I didn't miss that because I wasn't excited about it. I missed that just because I missed it, But, even good movies that are out now, they're not Lord of the Rings level, so I don't pay attention or get excited or really care, and I'll catch them like 2 years later on Netflix.
Well, the root crux, bottom, whatever of the issue here is just that with the internet and all other media, when we're talking just about consumable, entertaining media, there is more media being created than I can peruse, even if I spent 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, watching it, reading it, whatever. As a result, I have to be choosy. Not to mention the fact that there's all of the media that has been created and preserved throughout the history of humanity that's been stacked up. And between all of
It's
that,
now becoming more and more easily available, where it used to be not.
I have easily 100 to 200 books that I own that I haven't read and I really, really want to read.
I don't own 200 books I haven't read.
Yeah,
I own like maybe 20 books I haven't read. In fact, I can tell you exactly how many books I own that I haven't read.
Not only do I have stacks and stacks of unread books, but my book collection is still in Arizona with my mom, and I haven't read even half of those books. And I wanted to read all of them, and I think I still do. So it gets to the point where I sit there and I look at all my books, and I have to pick one of them to read. And as a result, I'm never going to get to the books that don't immediately say, Rim, you have to read the blah, blah, blah.
Until I'm a retired old man, a lot of stuff is just going to go unwatched, unread, unseen, whatever.
That's one benefit of the modern culture. As long as I somehow have enough money to retire, retirement doesn't seem as bad. I mean, I see a lot of people I know who are retired and grandparents of people who really lead boring, like they don't do anything anymore, and they sit around kind of bored all the time or watching TV or whatever. And I know there's exceptions, but I see a lot of people like this. And I have enough entertainment now. If no new entertainment were created for the rest of my life, I think there is enough entertainment in the world to keep me up until the age of 90 retired and perfectly content and have something to do at all hours.
Yeah, I think
that's a scary thought. That means that I'm not going to be able to read most of the books that I want to read. I'm not going to be able to watch most of the movies I want to watch. There's no way in hell I'm going to play all the video games I want to play.
And hence, jadedness, while it sucks because there are a lot of things that are quite enjoyable that for some reason I'm just not enjoying, and other people think it's weird. Like, why aren't you, loving up this movie that everyone loves so much? It's not because it's bad. It's just because, if you eat steak every day, and you eat it every day, eventually steak becomes not so interesting anymore. But then, when you go to eat a hamburger, it doesn't taste it tastes bad, even worse than the steak. It's sort of like being addicted to heroin, and then you just need, if you go down to like morphine, it doesn't do shit.
Nah,
but
actually,
more heroin doesn't help you either. You need something bigger and badder all the time, and eventually you run out.
Emily was making fun of us just a little while ago about that. Like, oh, you guys, you lead the good life, and now you can't understand the simple pleasures. And it reminded me of a somewhat sad anecdote that happened not too long ago.
All right, tell your sad anecdote.
Well, Scott and myself and a small portion of the front row crew went to try out a hibachi, sushi, whatever chain called Izumi that opened a branch right near our house.
Oh, right.
So we thought, oh, great, we don't have to drive up the road to the Necco anymore, even though I really like the Necco. We'll check this place out. And it was kind of meh.
It was okay. It wasn't the greatest. It wasn't the worst.
I would rather drive up the road to the Necco than go to
I
that
agree
place.
that I would rather drive up to the road to the Necco, but it wasn't like bad. Like, bad hibachi, don't go there. It was just, this better.
But there weren't enough of us to get a whole table. So we ended up sharing a table with this couple. And whatever, we're just talking and they're just talking. And I think we related a whole other story about how our conversation was crippled by the fact that they weren't really geeky. And almost everything we said weirded them out. And they just couldn't deal with it, and they kept talking to us, and it kind of ruined our dinner.
Yeah, I really don't want strangers talking to me while I'm
I don't mind strangers talking to me, but they could not engage us in any conversation that we wanted to have, and they just kept, it was weird. But anyway, so we're just talking, I'm looking at the menu, and one thing this place has is you can get lobster in your hibachi.
Yeah, the Necco does not offer that, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, but I'm looking, I'm thinking, and I say to myself, oh man, lobster, I'm all about that. But I just had lobster yesterday, so maybe I shouldn't have lobster 2 nights in a row. And then those people turn to us, and they're like, wow, aren't you guys the fancy spenders, la-di-da.
And I'm like, what?
And I thought to myself, and I'm like, whoa, wow. Yeah, I did just have lobster.
But you look at the menu, the lobster was like $15.
Yeah, it wasn't that
Big
expensive.
deal. It's not like it's some $50 deal. It's $15. Whatever. How is it so la-di-da?
I've kind of noticed this in my life, and it's not a matter of money. It's just like, because I used to really like eating at diners. I used to eat at them all the time. But now we don't eat out so often. So other than lunches. So when I eat out, I always want to go to like the best possible restaurant at the time.
Yeah, it's like
So as a result, I don't go to the diner anymore, even though I really like the diner. Just if I'm gonna eat out, I'd rather go to the Cafe Maya.
I know. So I go to the Cafe Maya
Or the
I go to-
Locanda.
I go to the Chipotle. So what's the point of Joe's Tex-Mex? It's whatever. I
The
got
one
Cafe
benefit,
Maya.
I
Joe's
can't eat-
Tex-Mex doesn't mean shit for me.
The thing is, it's weird because I can still eat Taco Bell. I fucking love Taco Bell.
I can't eat any fast food really. I eat it like when necessary, and that's about it.
Taco
When I
Bell and
do,
White Castle.
I always get like some piece of chicken. That's horrible.
So see, I'm not jaded about fast food. It's more that I think there's jaded. We can't talk about it in such simple terms because people say someone's jaded about something, and there's a whole slew of different reasons a person could have lost interest in something that has nothing to do with just he's so jaded. He doesn't care, doesn't give a care at all about the world anymore. Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
Like-
it's very difficult to tell sometimes. Also, it's like I used to like that thing and now I don't. Why is it? Am I not interested in movies anymore because DVDs and BitTorrent, or is it actually because I'm jaded from seeing a zillion awesome movies?
To me, I can do the movies thing very simply. It's just time. Because I love watching movies.
I do.
Remember before we did Geek Nights, when we just lived in this house we had all this money and all this free time and nothing to do? We watched, like every night we watched a movie.
Yeah, just
Almost
about.
every single night.
We were
watched,
Netflix send it back. Netflix send it back.
Not only that, but we were buying box sets. Like we bought a box set of old Hitchcock movies.
But it's not just not watching movies. It's that, people will bring up movies. They'll start talking about them, and I'm just completely uninterested whatsoever. I
Well,
just
it's not
don't
so much
care.
movies that people bring that. It's TV shows. A lot of our friends watch TV, and they're
Well,
always
TV shows, I am somewhat interested in TV shows, but only on DVD, and I don't really care about them on television, even though some of them might be good. But
Well, they try to they yell at us. Like, I think Battlestar Galactica is absolutely amazing.
I don't think it's so great.
Well, that's because you're dumb.
But I did see it.
I really freaking like it. I think it's super awesome, and I really want to see it. But just in terms of all the media I have to consume and all the non-media I have to do, like making media, like this podcast and all the other things and my job, I don't have time to watch Battlestar Galactica. And it seems like a lot of our friends get really kind of indignant about it. Like, why are you watching it? I keep telling you to, and why don't you? And I'm like, because I have more important things to do. I want to see it. I agree with you that it's great. I have to make this podcast, and then I have to cook a dinner, and then I have to play this video game so I can talk about it on the show, and then I gotta go to sleep.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Basically, I do feel though in myself that I'm getting like less enjoyment from things.
See, I think that's just you. That's the second issue. I think we'll save this for another show. Why is Scott so sad?
I'm not
Because-
sad.
No, not sad, but it's very rare that I see you really into something and really enjoying it and like seeing the joy sparkle in your eye.
Uh-huh.
I see that like you have gotten to the point in Dungeons and Dragons where I don't think there's anything other than playing Burning Wheel in a one-off with Luke Crane himself while being fellated by a band of slave women or something. I don't think you can enjoy role-playing anymore.
I don't know. I think I can because I have recently.
When? Our last D&D session.
We played Lacuna at the shore. That was fun.
But our last D&D session evolved into the entire group yelling at you for basically saying that you don't like settings anymore, that you want only settingless games.
It doesn't have to be setting lists. It's just I want to interact more with the other players than I interact with the setting. That's what I was saying.
But anyway, we'll do another show about that sometime or a special or whatever. But you can't confuse this with, I don't want to say getting better taste or anything pretentious like that, but more of becoming more
Well,
knowledgeable.
better taste would be a matter of I'm jaded. I don't like those Tezukas. I'm gonna read my Narutos. That's needing better taste.
I think taste is subjective in many ways, but it's
It
more
is,
the
but-
idea that, let's take the example of fast food. I used to eat a lot of fast food as a kid. I used to
Well,
drink
I don't
a
eat
lot.
fast food, not because
No, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I used to eat a lot of fast food as a kid. I used to drink a lot of soda as a kid, like 7 or 8 cans of, to use the vernacular in Michigan, pop. I drank a lot of pop.
soda.
I'm going to start saying that word again because like 48% of Americans say pop.
They're all wrong.
And it's pop.
That's how you can tell the stupid ones.
See, the thing is, I say 48% because I don't count those cola people or those Coke people.
Ah,
They're not people.
nope.
But
Unless they say Moxie.
Moxie is awesome. Here's the thing. Scott always yells at me for liking things. Like, I only like the idea of liking it.
You just eat Shields all the time.
I'll admit this. I like the idea of Moxie soda because it's old school
I
and
also
hardcore.
like the idea of Moxie
However,
soda.
as much as I would love to like Moxie soda, that shit tastes like battery acid.
I never tasted it.
It is not good.
I never tasted it, but I do really like the idea of Moxie soda.
I want to like it. I want to be one of those guys who's like, oh, Moxie, but it tastes like shit.
I have no idea
It's
what
so
it tastes
bad.
like whatsoever.
It tastes like drinking burning phosphorus.
I'll just have to take your word for it.
I would rather drink battery acid because at least
I
that would
not
numb my
rather
taste.
drink battery acid.
Actually, I don't think there's much of a difference. But
We should try to make a battery out of Moxie.
I get a lot of crap from people, mostly at my job and just kind of normal people, about how I won't eat fast food. Like, we'll be at a job and they're like, hey, we're working late. I'll go get some McDonald's for everyone. And I'm like, I'm not going to eat McDonald's. And I just don't eat anything. And they think it's really weird. And they're like, why won't you eat McDonald's? Everyone eats McDonald's. Like, I don't like McDonald's. Everyone likes McDonald's. And they get into this stupid argument, and I don't care about them, so whatever.
They get an argument about that?
They're like, why don't you eat McDonald's?
It's poison.
What, do you have a thing against McDonald's?
It's
oh,
poison.
You're just some health food nut?
It's not a health food nut. There's a difference between being a health food nut and not eating poison. I mean, a health food nut is someone who always shops, at the super organic granola-y, Atkins.
Yeah, let's
whatever.
not get into that, because I want to...
You don't want to get into it either, but
Because I want to end the show, because I want to go eat some... I'm hungry.
Just
and I want to
means
make
you're
some dinner.
not an idiot. It's like not smoking.
No, what I'm saying is that I had a taste for that stuff. And then over time, as I got to college and I started, eating and drinking a much larger variety of things outside of the Midwest, I started not drinking so much soda and not eating so much fast food. And then as time went on, once I stopped being accustomed to that food, now the idea, biting into a McDonald's burger, the taste of it makes me nauseous.
But you
and
still eat your freaking White Castle.
White Castle's different.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's the same shit.
Because there's White
Just
Castle.
smaller.
No, it's not, because White Castle is just grease. They're not pretending it's meat. You don't bite into that and think, oh man, fake meat. It's just grease with onion paste. And it's so good.
Anyway, I only eat fast food when necessary, and I
Actually, if there was a White Castle within a half hour, I would go get 20 White Castles right now.
depending on which fast food I get, I actually like some of it. Like Arby's, I love some Arby's.
I can eat those Arby's chicken fingers all day long.
That's what I'm saying. Chicken fingers and curly fries from Arby's are awesome.
Even
but
though those curly fries are awesome, but they're also disgusting.
While my mouth loves them, my stomach hates them, and thus I am able to just not eat them, and I don't really eat fast food unless I absolutely have to.
Or I think soda's a better example, because soda in
I
and of
never
itself...
liked soda, so...
Well, that's because Scott can't deal with fizziness.
Even non-fizzy soda, eh.
Well, the thing is, soda's not really bad for you, just a lot of people drink too much of it.
And
but
it also ruins your teeth.
Not so much. You know what ruins your teeth more than anything?
Not brushing.
Well, brush your teeth.
Not
brush your
flossing.
teeth. Actually, in terms of drinks, number one is lemonade. Lemonade is the worst possible thing you can drink other than, I don't know.
What if it's not corn syrup lemonade, though?
That's even worse.
Uh-huh.
Because it's a combination of sucrose and super acidic lemon, and it sticks to your teeth, and it's horrible for your teeth.
All right.
Number two is energy drinks. Number three is soda.
Uh-huh. I only do lemonade.
And even then, soda's not that bad for your teeth in moderation. But soda, especially in America, is super, super, super sweet. And that didn't bother me as a kid. But as I started drinking and eating a lot of different things, now, if I drink normal soda, it's so sweet that it's almost painful. I feel sick drinking it. Wow, there's way too much sugar in this. I can't deal with it.
Yeah, I do feel sick, eating fast food and stuff.
Now, most of the
eating,
things I drink...
used to eat a Cinnabon, and now I eat a
Oh,
Cinnabon,
God.
and it's my stomach.
Did we ever tell the Cinnabon story on the show?
No, we're not going to bother with that.
I'll
now.
save that. But
I think let's just end it, and I'll say, if there's anyone else out there who's like me, where you just can't enjoy things because you've seen so much shit on the internet that it takes something so crazy to interest you, we should start some Jaded by the Internet support group or something like that.
all that would be is an RSS. You realize that just devolves into Rome in the end, just hedonism bot.
Yeah.
Because you get so jaded that the only thing left is you have to, summon one of the slaves and have him executed and then dipped in the finest of oils and creams.
But that doesn't even excite me. What do you get?
What would excite
get?
you? Are you gonna get so decadent that what if you could have anything in the world right now? What would instill joy in you, Scott Rubin?
Not possible. Not possible.
No, right now, anything. Infinite money. You have the Count of Monte Cristo's money and Hedonism Bot's resources and a million slaves. What are you going to get?
Make some Star Wars movies that don't suck.
All right. So I think that's it. Geeks like us have to get together and be patrons of the arts like in the old days and commission great works.
That's worse than our current copyright system, you realize. For many reasons. There's a reason we got rid of the patron system and went to the copyright system.
The patron system's fine if it's in parallel to another system. Within the system, I think the only way left to keep us from just killing ourselves is to commission great works.
I guess I'll have to go and commission some sculptures or something.
Oh, but Emily's here. She's an animator. She went to NYU. Make us Star Wars that doesn't suck.
I don't know if she could do that.
She said no.
People have tried on the internet. They haven't quite gotten there.
Because you're forgetting, patrons need money. We need to be rich first.
But if I'm rich, I'll just drive my Ferrari and I won't be jaded.
Yeah, you will. You realize after like 2 weeks of driving that Ferrari, you'll be like, meh, I need a Bugatti.
I don't think that'll happen because
I need a
sucks.
custom car, and then meh, I need to fly my jet, and meh, I need to fly my Star Destroyer.
I think once I had the space shuttle, I'd be all right.
The space shuttle sucks.
Well, a new, better space shuttle, not that piece of shit.
All right, we're done, because
Yeah.
I need me some White Castles.
I need me some space shuttles.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geek Nights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geek Nights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geek Nights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.